Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my co-host and adoring wife, Sarah. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, Skip, great to be here again.
Well, of course it is. You're
As
with
always.
me. Yes. It's so incredible to be with me, don't you think?
It is.
Okay. Well, Sarah, you and I, we have a special project going on right now. Tell the listeners about what we're doing.
They might think we're crazy, you know. Are you
That's-
sure?
that's
Should we tell
okay.
them? I don't know. It's
We are
kind of
crazy,
a secret.
but go ahead.
Okay. We are trying to build a schoolie. I should say we are building a schoolie. We have a bus. It's blue and yellow. And our brother-in-law is helping us. It's a good thing we have him. He keeps us on track.
Because we don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what he's doing. Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. Yes.
This is our official bug out bus.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, because...
It's my official tour of the country bus. so-
Well, yeah. Well, that's what bugging out is. You're fleeing a blue state, trying to get to a red state, right?
I don't know.
And
Sometimes-
who knows what's going to happen in the election here? I mean, if Kamala Harris wins, we could be bugging out for some red state someplace.
Maybe Wyoming will stay conservative. I don't know.
Wyoming is that's a nice place. I could
Some
go for
Great
Wyoming.
things about Wyoming. But we have family in so many other places, so some of them are bluer than Michigan, though. So
Well, it's fun and we are enjoying it.
yes, we are. Well, folks, we've got a great show planned for you today. First, we'll be speaking with Gabe Suarez from Suarez Tactics. Then we'll discuss a self-defense scenario in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with firearms instructor Van Winn from the great state of Georgia, where we'll get some expert advice on the details of self-defense.
Well, before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. And now it's time for our Home Defense Show Quote of the Week. What do you have for us this week, Sarah?
Well, Skip, the quote this week is from William Shakespeare, and it goes like this. A coward dies 1,000 times before his death, but the valiant taste death but once.
That's a special quote for me. I don't particularly enjoy reading Shakespeare.
He's tough.
He is tough. He speaks like Old English or Middle English or something like that. It's not American English. I remember that in college trying to do that. I had to resort to Cliff Notes. I just couldn't understand it. You were in electrical engineering, so
I had an English major for a roommate, though. She was incredible, but she'd be up all night pulling her hair out trying to understand and write, good articles or papers or
yeah.
whatever. She was working hard.
Yeah, I think the only thing more cryptic than Shakespeare for me was Chaucer or Beowulf, something like that. That was even worse. But I like this quote because the hero, he does just die once. The coward, he runs away, he lets innocent people die, and then every day after that, he has to live with himself every day for the rest of his life.
I thought it was about fear and having to die in your mind because you're always afraid of the death, so you're imagining things that won't.
Well, it's probably that too. But for me, as a man, it would be shame. Running away from something where you should have stood up for the innocent, for someone who couldn't stand up for themselves. That for me is like eternal shame, and I would die every day if I had to do that. And now it's time for our Home Defense Show, Hero of the Week. Speaking of courage and heroes, who's our hero this week, Sarah?
This is a great story. You guys are going to love this one. In today's story, the suspect abducts a 7-year-old girl from her bicycle and takes her into his vehicle. While attempting to drive away with her, her aunt quickly runs towards the driver's side window and reaches in, grabbing the steering wheel to prevent him from leaving. A resident, Scott Van Leuven, happened to be driving by and saw what was taking place. Scott Van Leuven is a member of the Sterling Heights Citizen Patrol. This is a voluntary civilian group that helps to be the eyes and ears for the police department. He was not currently on patrol, but was driving home from work when he noticed a female hanging out of the driver's side of a moving car at the entrance of Clinton River North Park. Scott quickly turned around and blocked the vehicle from leaving the park. Scott exited his truck and then removed the suspect from the vehicle, did not let him leave until the police arrived on the scene. If it were not for the quick actions of the little girl's aunt, as well as Scott Van Luren, who knows what would have happened to that poor child. These individuals are absolute heroes, and we are so grateful that they were quick to act. Keep in mind that this same suspect attempted to abduct a 15-year-old girl from Clinton Township an hour prior to this, but was fought off by her and another person. These events took place in the middle of the day, and in our case, right next to a busy road out in the open.
I really like this one for a couple of reasons. One, the little girl was saved. Two, the aunt, oh man, she was probably more heroic than the man who entered in simply because she put her life at risk. She jumped into, a moving car and was hanging out the window to save her 7-year-old niece. I thought that was fantastic. If she hadn't done that, then the second person, the man, wouldn't have stopped because there would be no reason to stop. The kidnapper would have just driven away with a 7-year-old girl, and she probably would have never been seen again. So this was a bit of a tag team here. Two heroes coming together to save a little girl's life, and not just her life, but from the trauma and whatever torture and pain she would have felt. Because I doubt very much he was stealing her so that he could tell her about the love of Jesus. So this is a really good thing. Now, folks out there, if you have any desire to do something like this, to help out, there are things like volunteers in police service that you can do. Help out our people in blue. It would be a good thing because here this guy was able to help in saving a little girl's life just by volunteering and helping with the police. All right, Sarah, we've got a few minutes left in this segment. What do you have for us on the news front?
In Oshtemo Township, Michigan, a gun went off inside a Costco shopper's purse on Sunday, sending the people inside the store scrambling for the exit. The shot rang out on September 15th inside the Costco location near Kalamazoo on Century Avenue. The firearm was inside a woman's purse when it went off. The gun's legal owner was shot in her hand, according to the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office. 2 other people were injured in the chaotic response to the gunshot. One person hurt their ankle, another fainted. Only the gun's owner had to be taken to the hospital for treatment.
I like this story, even though it's kind of sad and
I don't like it. It scares me.
well, yeah, because you carry your gun
In my purse.
in your purse, right?
Well, and I shop at that Kalamazoo store.
Yes, we shop at that particular store. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with carrying the gun inside your purse, provided that you do it safely. And there's just a few guidelines that you have to follow, and you do that, Sarah. You and I, we've sat down and we've talked it out, we've worked it out.
Lots of times. I've been doing it for years.
Yes. Basically, the gun has to be safe. It has to be readily accessible. It has to be in a holster where the trigger and the trigger guard is covered up. Never just take your gun like this lady did and just drop it inside her purse with all of her makeup and her car keys and all of that stuff, because you're going to dig around in there and you're going to hit that trigger, and it's not going to end well. So, get a concealed carry purse so that you can have a quick draw, but while it's in your purse, it's in a separate compartment in a holster designed for it so that it's perfectly safe.
Well, this is Sarah Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll talk with Gabe Suarez from Suarez Tactics. Then we'll discuss a self-defense scenario with firearms instructor Van Winn from the great state of Georgia in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report, where we will get some great and practical advice on how to defend yourself and your loved ones.
In the meantime, God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Centershot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Centershot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Liberals hate him, small children fear him, but God keeps on loving him anyway. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was a beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Centershot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. And now I'd like to welcome Gabe Suarez, the owner of Suarez Tactics, to the show. Gabe, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it certainly is a pleasure for me. Gabe, we were talking offline earlier about getting old. It seems to be happening to everybody these days. It's the weirdest thing. I can't stop it.
Yeah, it's but I'll tell you, you can fight it, and you can do amazing things that maybe our dads and granddads wouldn't be able to do because of the age that we live in.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you seem to be fairly successful at staving off rigor mortis, things like that. I know a lot of my students, they can't say that. I teach primarily concealed carry students, a little bit of advanced stuff, but nothing like you do. It's like just bending over to pick up a magazine is like a physical challenge for some of my people. And even for myself, I mean, I fight it. And it's like fighting against gravity. As soon as you relax, gravity wins. I want you to give us, maybe talk in general about it, and then maybe come up with some ways, things that work for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I found a quote that's very, very interesting. It's from Oliver Wendell Holmes. A person is always startled when he hears himself referred to as old for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's very true. I mean, I remember when I was in my teens and 20s, I thought somebody in their 40s, oh my God, it's got, one foot in a banana, the other one on a banana peel, the other one in his grave or something like that. But the reality is, because of the times that we live in, because of the knowledge that we have today that was denied to our ancestors, we can stay strong and virile and agile and all that well into our 70s and 80s. And that's my plan anyway. It takes effort. When I told Cheryl that we were going to be doing a podcast on this, she brought up a song. I think it was Toby Keith that made it, or produced it rather, called "Don't Let the Old Man In." And you're right, it is a constant struggle, but something that maybe will resonate to, like preparing for retirement. You don't do it the day you turn 60. You have to start in your 30s and build up to it. So by the time it's time to pull the plug, you're well off financially and physically and everything else. And it's the same thing with this. I've been lifting and doing martial arts since I was 10 years old. So I did it for 54 years. So I'm able to reap the benefits of that dedication in those days now. But you can benefit from a change in perspective at any age. I was just at the gym with my wife this morning, and probably half a dozen people that I would consider old. And there they were, they weren't, deadlifting 600 pounds or anything like that, but they were putting in the work, to stay agile and strong and everything else as they age. And, there's a price for everything. Nothing's free.
I've done something similar. I really haven't done a lot of weightlifting, but for me, it's like I'm 67 now, but between the ages of 10 and 50, I was very, very active. I played soccer in college. I refereed high school and college soccer for about 15 years during my middle age. And I think that really helped me stave off a lot of the aging that happens as far as the weight gain that middle-aged people get. Because I was refereeing like 200 games a year, and that's just a lot of running.
Mhm.
But then, when I was
Sure.
50, I kind of slowed down. I stopped doing that, not because I was lazy, but just because, life caught up with me and I was trying to build a business. And so I thought, well, time is better spent. Looking back, I realized, I made a mistake. I should have stayed active there. I mean, I'm not obese by any stretch, but I've got 10, 15 pounds that I would really like to lose. Do you have any tips on 67-year-old guy that's got 15 extra pounds? He wants to get rid of it. What's the best way to do it?
Well, what I would tell you is, it all begins with your mental attitude or not. A lot of my demographic are older guys, and so I get questions like this all the time. In fact, I sent you some stuff on the email that some stuff that I was working on. A lot of it is just don't accept the fact that you're getting old. We see guys that are in their 80s that have young muscles and young spirits, and they're still out there doing stuff. Now, granted, at a limited level because they're 80, but they're still having fun. They're still enjoying themselves. So the mental attitude I think is huge. The second thing is, like I said, which 2024, you can take advantage of pharmacology. I call it the tactical use of pharmacology. Here in America, if you mention performance enhancing drugs, they're, oh my God, and they people grab their chest and Lance Armstrong and Mark McGuire and all these. Yeah, but you know what? You're 67. Let's be brutally honest. Okay, you got what, maybe 20, 25 years left? How do you want to live those? Looking like Burl Ives or looking like Sylvester Stallone? I mean, that's really it, right? I mean, none of us are getting out of here alive. So how do you want to live, the latter part of your years? When guys approach me and ask, because, I'm 64. Okay. I just turned 64 last week. I'm 180 pounds. I got about, 10% body fat. I got injuries just like everybody else. I mean, I was in multiple car crashes and fights and all kinds of stuff. And so I'm probably in the next few years, I'm going to get shoulder replacements because it's, wear and tear. But you can do amazing things if you take advantage of modern medicine. I tell the guys, look, go get a blood test and check thyroid, check your lipids, that's all your cholesterol stuff and everything else. And then check your androgens, your testosterone, estradiol, and things like that. And if there are things that are not balanced, or I may add not optimal, then get them checked. This is not stuff that you're going to get from your primary care guy that just wants to keep you in stasis until you. This is going to be from progressive doctors that don't take insurance, and their job is to keep you, like Spider-Man until you basically crash and burn at some point in your 80s, and that's fine, because it's for us. It should be about quality. It should be about virility. It should be about how can you stay as an active person enjoying life, not how long can you manage to hold on before you kick. So, and that is all going to be your time spent putting money in the physical account, going and lifting, going and doing something that's going to get you moving. If you're a man and you're above 50, I guarantee you could benefit from being on testosterone. I've been on it for about 7, 8 years, and it's a life changer. The second thing is, I think we have to let go of the 25-year-old full contact fighter that's in all of us and realize that while, we can still do amazing things. And, the ladies take a second look when you walk by, at the pool and stuff like that, but we're not 25 and, things can break and, you can get injured.
Yeah, they're taking a second look because they're grossed out, right?
If you put in the time, it won't be like that.
This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. We're out of time for this segment, but stay tuned because we got more great stuff coming up next. We'll continue our conversation with Gabe Suarez, the owner of Suarez Tactics. During the break, I want you to work on getting back in fighting shape. Today, let's do 5-win sprints, all uphill, of course, while thinking patriotic thoughts. Stay tuned, because we will be right back.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me, and I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Some say his face is painfully ugly, and I agree. But who cares? This is radio. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell, and now let's continue our conversation with Gabe Suarez, the owner of Suarez Tactics. Gabe, you're talking about all kinds of controversial stuff here. Performance-enhancing drugs, testosterone. I mean, everyone knows that testosterone is toxic, right? I mean, all this masculinity running around, the world could like blow up. I mean, women scream, they faint when they see someone masculine. How can you push that off onto the world like that, Gabe?
Oh, because I think we saw an example of toxic masculinity when the former and hopefully future President Trump was shot. The modern emo man would have cowed under the stage and hope that somebody came and rescued him and all that kind of stuff. What did he do? He stood up, shook his fist in the air, and announced what his plans were, which was to fight. I'm not moved very often by things, but that was a moving example. That's an image that will live through generations. Another example of toxic masculinity was that firefighter that died on scene that day, shielding his wife and daughters from the incoming fire. That's the kind of toxicity that we want to have. We should embody that with every breath that we take. If we all did that and we refuse to accept the communist emasculation mentality, this would be a different country and we would be a different people.
Yeah, it would be kind of like going back in time 50 years. Can you imagine your dad or your grandpa like watching television right now and seeing some of the crap that hits the airwaves now? It's like my dad is rolling over in his grave right now because he was that kind of guy. And if someone would challenge him, he'd get right back up in their face. He once punched out a man for burning his draft card, back in the 1960s.
Exactly. No, but, like back to what we were talking, the other thing is fix things that can be fixed. I mean, for example, a few years ago, I started developing a cataract in my right eye. That's not good. It's not good for me for quality of life. It's not good for me for combat capability. So go get it fixed. And it's not that we don't have the money to do it. We certainly do. But the thing is that we have to prioritize self-care and self-development instead of, hey, I'm going to have a $5 latte every morning, or I'm going to do this or do that. You prioritize the things that are important and you'll be able to afford all sorts of things. The other thing is, don't act your age. When you tell people how old you are, they should be shocked. You get that by your behavior, your appearance. Some guys come to my class, and they're older guys, not as old as me, but they're older guys. You looked at them, you think that they were 10 years older than they are because they've allowed themselves to look old. That's your thing, then that's cool, but it doesn't have to be that way. Don't dress like a grandpa, stay fashionable, stay fit, groom, do all those things that you did when you were 25 that somehow got forgotten about. This being a discussion about self-defense and all of that contributes to something that I call command presence. When the bad guy looks at you, he should not think, oh, look, there's an old guy, I can take him. He should look at you and go, I can't really tell how old that guy is. No, I'm not going to pick on him because he'll do me in. He'll go through my pockets for loose change. I'm going to pick somebody else. And that all begins and ends with your appearance and the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't command that kind of presence if you're hunched over, like you can barely walk, you're out of breath, all of that stuff. Testosterone. I've been thinking about that lately. You lose it gradually over time, right? You don't wake up
Mhm.
one morning and go, oh,
Sure.
I've got no testosterone. So you're saying get a blood test. So how do you go? You go on a website? You go to your family doctor? How do you do something like that?
Well, the thing is that, like nutrition, there's so many doctors that don't understand. And they're, if you're a woman and you show up to a doctor and you say, hey, you know what, I got hot flashes, I'm not interested in sex and all this stuff, they'll fill her ass so full of testosterone, she's going to turn into Ronnie Coleman. But if you or I show up, they're like, oh, well, be careful. And all the things that they tell you about it, that it causes cancer, it causes heart disease, all of that, that's nonsense. I've read the studies, they're flood studies. There are new studies replacing those. The problem is that so many doctors, they receive a block of instruction, I don't know, back in the 80s or 90s or something, and that's as far as they ever study an issue. And so they're real literally stuck in the past. We know so much more about replacing and optimizing androgens today than we did, even 10 years ago. So I would tell the listeners is this. You all carry this great, incredible computer in your pocket. It's called a smartphone. Start doing your research. Don't just sit there and let your primary care guy, your testosterone is that of a 70-year-old guy. And he says, yeah, you're in the range. No, I don't want to have testosterone for a 70-year-old guy. I want to have a testosterone for a 30-year-old guy. And so you can make yourself more knowledgeable than your PC. And you know what? And if he doesn't give you the answer you want, it's really easy to find somebody else. You have to accept that this is not an insurance thing. You're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. It's not that much. I spend, I don't know, maybe $100 a month for what I do. And, it's like I said, it's a life-changing thing. Yeah, that's something that I would say, not only the androgens, which is the testosterone, estradiol, and such, but also your lipids to make sure your cholesterol is good to go. And again, do your own research and also your thyroid, because as we get older, thyroid maybe doesn't want to behave itself like it did when I myself have Hashimoto's, and so I have to constantly watch that. The thyroid is like the carburetor on a car. It's going to determine how things run, and so you have to be watchful.
This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. We're speaking with Gabe Suarez from Suarez Tactics. Now, Gabe, there's different kinds of testosterone out there. I did some research on it, and there's like pills and liquid and injections, all kinds of stuff. What's the best? Is one better than the other? How's that work?
The Cadillac system is injecting testosterone cypionate here in the US. And you could do anything from 50 milligrams to 200 milligrams a week, because it all depends on how you feel and how your blood scores are. It's not a one size fits all thing. But, guys, oh my God, I have to inject myself. It's not that big a deal. But you just put it on your calendar, and it's like you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you do your testosterone, you take your vitamins, and you go and you start your day. If you're 65 and you start doing that and you clean up your diet and you start doing some, basic good sense exercise and stuff like that, in a year, people won't recognize you. It will change you that much.
You said you started doing it about 7, 8 years ago. What did you start to notice as far as what was different for you?
Well, I started not sleep well. I started, even though I was working out a lot and eating clean and everything, started putting on weight. And I started thinking, I guess I'm getting old. This is, I don't like this. And fortunately, I had a doctor who was a friend that, progressive guy, which means that they're not insurance based, LabCorp type. The guys, they treat the patient, not the numbers. And he said, let's do a blood test. And I came back and my testosterone was like, really low, which was surprising. So he said, this is what we need to do. I want you to read up on it because I want you to know much about this as I do. And, I did. And I go, yeah, let's get it going. It took about 3 months for it to kind of kick in. And, at first you're just starting to feel more energy. You're starting to sleep better. The ladies in the short skirts that walk by, maybe you look at them a little bit more, that kind of stuff.
I'm not sure my wife will like that.
Or you look at your wife in the short skirt.
Oh, there you go.
It starts improving your life just in small degrees, but you look back a year before and you'll be going, yeah, I'm glad I did that. It's a life-changing thing. And everybody that I've talked to that I have suggested this to, they agree that they would not go back to their old self if they had a chance.
Hey, we're out of time, but you have enlightened me, and I'm going to seriously check into that for myself. Thanks, Gabe. Gabe, before you go, how can people contact you?
So I'm not really doing that these days, but I'm still active. My training site is suareztactics.com, SuarezTactics.com. And I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Suarez Tactics. And I put most of my stuff up there. I do still put a little bit of stuff on Facebook, YouTube, and all that, like everybody else. But the main source of information with a lot of exclusive content is the Patreon page.
Awesome. All right. Well, Gabe, thanks for being on the Home Defense Show today.
You bet, sir. Thank you.
All right. This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll be speaking with firearms instructor Van Winn from the great state of Georgia in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report, where we get some expert advice on the details of self-defense. Well, folks, now that you've been properly motivated, drop down on your face and pump out 50 push-ups, because we all know that a healthy, fit person fights better and is harder to kill. God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Liberals hate him, small children fear him, but God keeps on loving him anyway. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with firearms instructor Van Winn from the great and sovereign state of Georgia. Van, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, Skip, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be back, man. It's good to be here. Especially after the wind and stuff we just had, it's good to have power and talk to somebody that wasn't affected by all this.
It rained here for about 20 minutes. It was terrible. I'll call you again in January, and then, you can tease me about the terrible weather that I'm having. How's that sound?
Absolutely, because I'll probably still be wearing shorts.
Oh, that's low. Van, you know the drill. I'm going to read an article here, and then you and I are going to break it down and expend some of our brain cells, okay?
Sounds good.
The article says a toy gun-wielding teenager was shot in Philadelphia on Sunday night after allegedly attempting to rob a man who was carrying a loaded gun. Police said the 16-year-old and another suspect approached a man and his girlfriend on the 2200 block of Emerald Street at 11 p.m. on Sunday. One of the suspects allegedly pressed a weapon into the man's back before demanding his keys, wallets, and other valuables. Unbeknownst to the suspects, the man they were robbing was armed with a legal firearm, and he opened fire on the two suspects, striking the 16-year-old in the leg. Preliminary investigation found the weapon used by the teenager was a toy gun, which was recovered at the scene. Quote, having been pressed into the victim's back, there would have been no way for them to know that, Philadelphia Police Inspector D.F. Pace told the station. The victim was not injured, though the teenager who was shot in the leg was taken to an area hospital for treatment while in police custody. All right, that is what we know about that. What are your initial thoughts on that one, Van?
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, number one.
You are so sympathetic, but this is a poor, disadvantaged little Teenage boy,
Yes.
he was just a kid, just a mere waif of a boy.
Yes. It sounds like he's going to grow up to be a heck of a person. Heck of a great
Yes.
person, doesn't it? No, it just, as the story said, there's no way to know if the gun is real or not. It doesn't give you all the facts. I'm real curious how, with a gun in your back, you can draw your gun and shoot somebody without getting shot yourself, unless the gun is a toy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably my biggest thing is, you have a lot of concealed carriers. They have their concealed carry firearm. They think that's the answer to everything. And if somebody actually has a gun on you, drawing your own gun and firing at them is next to impossible without
Well,
getting killed. And so I'd like to know how that happened, that this guy was able to get his gun out and turn around and fire on these guys.
we need to hear from the people involved in it before we could
Absolutely.
actually know that. But, I've often wondered that too, Van, because, you'll go on like the NRA Armed Citizen Report and things like that. And it's like a lot of times the bad guy walks up, shows the guy the gun, give me your wallet, and the man draws his gun and shoots him. And I was wondered, well, why did he let him draw his gun and shoot him? And then I guess my only theory is the bad guy, he's so used to showing the gun, getting what he wants, and he's never, been shot before. So that's like an unknown stimulus to him. And
Yeah,
so
well,
they
he's
must
probably never had
hesitate.
anybody, like you said, he's probably never had anybody fight back.
I suppose if every third person that you robbed shot you'd get into a different line of work.
Yeah, maybe he needs to get in a different line of work. That would probably be a good start. It's crazy, and the thing is, it's whether it's a citizen or a police officer, you encounter somebody with a toy gun that looks real, whether it's an airsoft gun or just a cap gun. But if it looks real, it's a really good way to get shot. I can't fault the victim at all for doing what he did. I'd just like to know how he got in a position to get his gun out and shoot this guy.
Yeah, because I would want to learn that tactic. I really
Yeah,
would.
because my first thought, pressed into his back, and he's got his wife or his girlfriend with him. My very first thought would be complying to a degree, and maybe trying to go hands on against this guy with a gun, because I don't think I could get my own gun out. But again, you never know what the situation happened, or how these kids may have taken their eye off the target for a moment and gave him an opportunity.
Yeah, this is Skip Coryell, and you're listening to the Self-Defense Report, sponsored by ShootingClasses.com, as we discuss self-defense with firearms instructor Van Winn from the great state of Georgia. One of the things that I guess it's a pet peeve of mine, when I read these articles, the media people, when they write these articles, they'll always say, okay, a toy gun-wielding teenager was shot in Philadelphia on Sunday night after allegedly attempting to rob a man. They always say allegedly, and it's like, this seems pretty cut and dried. There was no allegedly about that. He did it. Okay. That's why he got shot. And hopefully this poor young man will learn his lesson and decide to go into skilled trades or something. I think that would be good for him.
Yeah, well, I noticed his compadre, when he did the robbery, took off running and said the police are still looking for him. So, if the situation had been different, it wasn't an actual robbery, I would think the other person would have came forward to the police and go, "Hey, some guy shot us."
That's right. I'm going to sue him too.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. So I think the story here is probably pretty accurate that they were robbing this guy, but I don't know. You're also robbing a man who's out with his girlfriend. So he's kind of in protection mode already with two juveniles come up. But just because they're 16-year-old juveniles doesn't mean they're little kids.
Right.
How many times you've seen a 16-year-old that's 6'2" and 200 and something pounds?
Yeah, he's fully grown at that point. And they said this was at 11 p.m. at night, so you're talking about low light conditions. How can you tell if it's a fake gun? Even if you're looking at it in the shadows, you don't know if it's real or if it's not real. And, you can't, all you see is a guy that is your size or bigger, looking at you and threatening you. So,
yeah, and there's two of them, and you're by yourself with your girlfriend,
yeah.
who you're probably worried about protecting and making sure nothing happens to her.
One of the things that always occurs to me when I hear stories like this is, first, when you resist, you're taking a risk. that the
Correct.
guy's just not going to press the trigger. But then after, the bad guy loses, he gets shot in the butt and he goes to jail, I feel, pretty good about that. And I go, well, all's well that ends well. I'm glad that the guy resisted, because there's one more guy that has an opportunity to, change his ways and live an upstanding life. So I'm glad he did what he did, but I'm equally glad that he didn't get shot.
Yes. Yeah. Well, in the situation, had the 16-year-old had a real gun, this may have turned out very differently,
Oh, yeah.
and multiple people could have been shot. And he's very fortunate that he only got shot in the leg and that he lived. And like I said, maybe this will be a lesson. He'll change his ways. But the other thing, by the victim or the purported victim, who obviously decided not to be a victim on this night, his actions may have very well saved how many more robberies? How many times have these guys done this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've even heard cases where people have been robbed by chocolate guns, which, down there in Georgia, that wouldn't go over very well, because
Now
you got like
that would be
95
melted
degrees,
pretty
right?
quickly.
Yeah, say we got to rob this place fast.
Yeah, you'd have to do that in maybe January, February. You might have a chance for a short period of time before your gun melted.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Van, that's about all the time that we have to break this down, but you did a good job. Tell
Thanks.
people how they can find out more about the training and what you do down there in Georgia.
Our company is called Reticent Warrior Tactics. We teach firearms, defensive tactics, Krav Maga, and a lot of CQB stuff. So you can look us up online, on Facebook, on Instagram, reticentwarriortactics.com.
Van, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
Thank you, Skip. Good to talk to you, buddy.
All right, folks, this is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show, and that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, CenterShot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Church and State. The first person to email me at skip@homedefenseshow.com will get a free signed copy of the book. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!